Admiral Elena Blackwood stood at the observation deck of Lunar Command, her weathered face illuminated by the harsh glow of emergency displays. The report in her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from barely contained rage. "Confirm those numbers again, Commander," she ordered, her voice steady, despite the storm brewing within. Commander James Weber, his dark skin ashen under the red emergency lights, cleared his throat. The Velkaran attack hit 3 major colony worlds simultaneously, Admiral. New Montana, Proxima Haven, and Titan's Rest. Current casualty estimates, he paused, swallowing hard, are at 6 million civilians. Blackwood placed the tablet down with deliberate care, her movements measured and controlled. The Velkarans, a species humanity had maintained cordial if distant relations with for the past 30 years, had just made the biggest miscalculation in their species' history. "Their message?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. She needed to hear it again, to let the full weight of their arrogance sink in. "They're calling it a preemptive containment action," Weber reported, disgust evident in his voice. "They claim humanity's rapid expansion poses an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. They've demanded we withdraw to our solar system and dismantle our colonial infrastructure." A small, dangerous smile played across Blackwood's lips. "Interesting. And what do our friends at Intelligence have to say?" A new figure stepped from the shadows. Colonel Maya Patel, head of military intelligence, her cybernetic eye glowing faintly in the dim light. "The Velkarans believe they've caught us unprepared, Admiral. Their intelligence suggests we're a peaceful species that expanded too quickly without developing proper military capabilities. They think we're defenseless scientists and colonists," Blackwood mused, turning to gaze at Earth through the reinforced windows. "How very convenient that they never found our other fleets. Operation Sleeping Giant remains completely unknown to them," Patel confirmed. "All black sites and hidden shipyards are secure. The Phantom Fleet is ready for immediate deployment." For 30 years, humanity had played the role of peaceful explorers and traders. They had built colonies, established trade routes, and shared cultural exchanges, but they had never forgotten the lessons of their own violent history. Behind every civilian ship, beneath every peaceful colony, lay carefully planned military infrastructure and defensive capabilities that had been systematically hidden from prying alien eyes. "Send the alert to all sleeper cells," Blackwood commanded. Authorization code: Awakening. It's time to show the Velkarans why humanity chose peace rather than being forced into it. Across the solar system and beyond, hidden installations began humming to life. Civilian ships transformed, revealing weapon systems that had been disguised as cargo holds. Colonial defense platforms that had appeared primitive suddenly displayed shield technology centuries ahead of what the Velkarans believed humans possessed. "Ma'am," Weber interrupted, his eyes wide as he read from a new report. "The Velkaran ambassador is requesting an emergency meeting. They're saying this action was meant as a measured response to demonstrate their superiority and force negotiations." Blackwood's laugh was devoid of humor. A measured response. 6 million dead civilians as a negotiating tactic. She straightened her uniform, squaring her shoulders. "Very well. I'll meet with them. It's only fair we offer our own measured response." As she strode toward the diplomatic chamber, Blackwood activated her neural link to the Fleet Command Network. Across human space, thousands of ships were coming online, crews emerging from deep cover to take their positions. The Velkarans thought they had attacked a sleeping giant. They were about to learn that this giant had never truly been asleep. They had bombed human colonies believing they were teaching humanity its place in the galaxy. Now humanity would teach them why every other spacefaring race had given Earth a wide berth during first contact. It wasn't out of disdain for humanity's seemingly primitive technology. It was out of recognition of the carefully controlled power that lurked beneath the surface. The time for playing peaceful explorers was over. The dragons were awake, and the galaxy was about to remember why they had chosen to sleep in the first place. High Commander Vectrol of the Velcaran Containment Fleet stood before the holographic display, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the red warning lights flooding the command center. Warning indicators flashed across every screen as sensor operators frantically worked their stations. "Impossible," he whispered, watching as thousands of ships seemed to materialize from nowhere across human space. Where did they hide a fleet of this size? Strategic analyst Miresen's tendrils writhed in agitation as she processed the incoming data. "High Commander, we're detecting massive energy signatures from what we thought were civilian installations. Trading posts, mining facilities, colonial outposts. They're all transforming." The human delegation had requested an emergency meeting, but not in the way the Velcarans had expected. Instead of cowering representatives begging for mercy, Admiral Blackwood had simply sent a message: "Watch." Now they understood why. Multiple quantum signatures detected. A sensor operator called out, "Human vessels are emerging from inside their civilian ships." "High Commander, these readings suggest their merchant vessels were actually carrying military-grade hardware disguised as cargo." Vectrol's mandibles clicked in distress as he watched the tactical display. Every human colony they had attacked was now revealing layer upon layer of hidden defenses. Shield generators that had appeared primitive were suddenly operating at energy levels that shouldn't have been possible for human technology. Orbital platforms that had seemed like basic communication relays were unveiling weapon systems that made his blood run cold. "High Commander," Miresen's voice was barely a whisper, "we're detecting additional fleet movements. The humans, they're not just defending. They're deploying in attack formations we've never seen before. Formations specifically designed to counter our tactical doctrines." "How?" Vectrol demanded. "How could they have prepared so thoroughly without us knowing?" The answer came not from his staff, but from a transmission that cut through their supposedly unbreakable encryption. Admiral Blackwood's hologram appeared in the center of their command deck, her expression one of cold determination. "You're wondering how we hid all this from you," she said, gesturing to the chaos unfolding around them. "The answer is simple. We never forgot who we were. While you watched us build colonies and trade routes, you never asked why a species with our violent history chose peace so readily." Tactical displays showed human ships moving with devastating precision, cutting through Velcaran defensive lines like they were made of paper. Each human vessel seemed to know exactly where to hit, exactly how to neutralize Velcaran technology. "Every trade mission was reconnaissance," Blackwood continued. "Every diplomatic exchange was intelligence gathering. Every cultural interaction taught us more about how to defeat you if we ever needed to. We chose peace, High Commander, but we prepared for war." Vectrol watched in horror as reports flooded in from across Velcaran space. Human ships were appearing in systems that should have been secure, neutralizing defense platforms with terrifying efficiency. They had clearly spent decades studying Velcaran weaknesses, developing countermeasures for every advantage the Velcarans thought they possessed. "Your attack on our colonies wasn't just a tactical mistake." Blackwood's voice hardened. "It was a fundamental misunderstanding of who and what humanity is. We are not peaceful because we're weak. We are peaceful because we know exactly what we're capable of when pushed." A new alert screamed across the command center as massive energy signatures appeared at the edge of the system. The Phantom Fleet, humanity's hidden armada, emerged from quantum space, ships of impossible size and power that had been concealed in pocket dimensions, waiting for this very moment. "This is not a war you can win, High Commander," Blackwood stated. "We've spent 30 years preparing for every possible scenario, including this one. You thought you were containing a potential threat. Instead, you've awakened a force that has spent centuries learning to restrain itself." Miresen's analysis tendrils had gone completely still, a sign of absolute terror in her species. "High Commander, their ships, they're not just advanced. They're specifically designed to exploit every weakness in our technology. They've been building countermeasures to our weapons for decades." As if to prove her point, a squad of human vessels demonstrated their capabilities, systematically disabling the Velcaran battle group without destroying a single ship. They weren't just fighting. They were sending a message about the gap between perceived and actual power. They had bombed human colonies, believing they were teaching humanity its place in the galaxy. Now humanity would teach them why every other spacefaring race had given Earth a wide berth during first contact. It wasn't out of disdain for humanity's seemingly primitive technology. It was out of recognition of the carefully controlled power that lurked beneath the surface. The time for playing peaceful explorers was over. The dragons were awake, and the galaxy was about to remember why they had chosen to sleep in the first place. The bridge of the THS Prometheus hummed with controlled energy as Captain Diana Reyes watched the tactical display. Her ship, one of humanity's most advanced vessels, had remained hidden in plain sight for years, disguised as a simple cargo hauler. Now its true form was revealed, a warship specifically engineered to counter Velcaran technology. All strike groups report ready, Captain. Lieutenant Omar Khan announced from his tactical station. Operation Thunderbolt is green across all sectors. Reyes nodded, her dark eyes reflecting the holographic battle plans floating before her. And our special package. Ready for deployment, ma'am. The quantum virus will completely neutralize their command and control systems. They won't even see it coming. The plan they were about to execute had been decades in the making. Every seemingly innocent trade route, every diplomatic mission, every cultural exchange, all had been carefully orchestrated to gather intelligence and position assets for this possibility. Signal from Admiral Blackwood. Communications Officer Yuki Tanaka reported. Message reads, "The dragon wakes. Execute primary strategy." Reyes allowed herself a small smile. Very well. All ships, commence Operation Thunderbolt. Remember, minimal casualties. We're teaching a lesson, not starting a war. Across human space, thousands of ships moved in perfect coordination. The Velcarans had expected a disorganized response from a peaceful species. Instead, they faced the most coordinated military operation in galactic history. The first phase began with surgical precision. Quantum encrypted transmissions rippled through Velcaran networks, disabling their most advanced weapon systems with exploits humanity had discovered years ago. Defense platforms went dark. Communication arrays fell silent. Ships found their targeting systems suddenly speaking in human languages. First wave successful, Khan reported. Velcaran battle groups are completely isolated from Central Command. Their automation systems are compromised. In the Velcaran Command Center, High Commander Vectral watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled. Human ships seemed to know exactly where to strike, how to move, when to push forward, and when to fade away. It wasn't just superior technology. It was perfect tactical knowledge of Velcaran capabilities and limitations. How are they doing this? He demanded, his crystalline exoskeleton vibrating with stress. How do they know our systems so well? The answer came from an unexpected source. A junior analyst, reviewing historical data, made a startling discovery. High Commander, those trade delegations from Earth, the ones that always seemed so interested in our cultural displays, they weren't just watching our military parades. They were scanning our ships, analyzing our formations. On the Prometheus, Reyes watched as the second phase began. Special operations teams, hidden among civilian populations for years, activated sleeper protocols. Across Velcaran space, critical military infrastructure began to fail in precisely calculated ways. Target their pride, not their people, Reyes reminded her crew as they moved into position for the decisive strike. Show them the depth of their miscalculation without forcing us to demonstrate our full capabilities. The Phantom Fleet, humanity's hidden armada, emerged from quantum space directly above the Velcaran homeworld. Ships that had been concealed in pocket dimensions, their very existence unknown to alien sensors, now cast shadows over Velcaran cities. They didn't fire a single shot. They didn't need to. Message from the surface, Tanaka announced. The Velcaran High Council is requesting immediate cessation of hostilities. They're asking how we manage to hide such military capability while maintaining the appearance of a peaceful civilization. Reyes opened a channel to Admiral Blackwood's flagship. Phase 2 complete. Admiral, the Velcarans are beginning to understand. Well done, Captain. Blackwood's voice carried a hint of satisfaction. Now for Phase 3, showing them why peace through strength is preferable to peace through fear. The next hours demonstrated the full scope of humanity's preparation. Ships equipped with technology, the Velcarans had thought impossible systematically disabled their remaining defense systems. Special forces teams, appearing seemingly out of nowhere, seized control of key military installations without firing a shot. It's not just about the technology, Reyes explained to her bridge crew as they watched the Velcaran resistance crumble. It's about showing them that we chose peace despite our capabilities, not because of our limitations. As the operation drew to a close, a final message was broadcast across all Velcaran frequencies. Admiral Blackwood's voice, translated perfectly into every Velcaran dialect, delivered humanity's true lesson. We didn't build these ships because we wanted to fight. We built them because we remembered what we're capable of when we have to. You attacked our colonies to teach us about knowing our place in the galaxy. Now we've taught you something about humanity. We're peaceful not because we must be, but because we choose to be. Remember this lesson well. The grand chamber of the Velcaran High Council, with its crystalline spires and luminescent walls, had never felt so small. Admiral Blackwood stood before the assembled council, her uniform pristine, her presence commanding. Behind her, through the transparent dome, the silhouettes of human warships hung in the purple Velcaran sky, a quiet reminder of power held in check. You could have destroyed us, High Counselor Ixel stated, his iridescent exoskeleton reflecting the chamber's light. Yet you chose precision over devastation, restraint over revenge. Why? Blackwood's response was measured, each word carefully chosen. Because destruction is easy. Building something lasting, that's the real challenge. In orbit, Captain Reyes and the Prometheus maintained their vigil. The ship's sensors monitored the diplomatic exchange, while keeping watch over the surrounding space. After the demonstration of human military superiority, no Velcaran vessel dared move without permission. Captain, Lieutenant Khan reported, we're detecting unusual activity in the Velcaran industrial sectors. They're dismantling their weapon factories. Reyes leaned forward in her command chair, voluntarily. Yes, Mom, and they're converting them to humanitarian aid production. The first shipments are already being prepared, medical supplies, construction materials, all headed for the colonies they attacked. In the council chamber, the conversation had taken an unexpected turn. High Counselor Ixel had risen from his ceremonial seat and approached Blackwood directly, a breach of Velcaran protocol that spoke volumes. We believed we understood humanity, he admitted, his translator struggling to convey the complexity of emotion in his native tongue. We saw your rapid expansion, your technological advancement, your military restraint. We interpreted it as weakness, as naive optimism. He paused, mandibles clicking in what humans had learned was a gesture of profound realization. We were wrong. Blackwood's expression softened slightly. Your mistake wasn't in questioning our capabilities. It was in failing to ask why a species with our history would choose peace. The council chamber screens came to life, displaying real-time footage from the attacked colonies. But instead of scenes of destruction, they showed something unexpected. Human and Velcaran crews working side by side, rebuilding what had been destroyed. The Velcarans had voluntarily committed their most advanced construction technology to the restoration effort. We thought we were containing a threat. Another council member spoke up. Instead, we discovered something far more powerful, a civilization that had mastered itself. In orbit, the Prometheus's sensors detected a new development. Velcaran ships, under human supervision, were beginning to adopt human safety protocols and communication standards. They weren't being forced to. They were choosing to. "Ma'am," Communications Officer Tanaka reported, "we're receiving requests from Velkaran military academies. They want to understand our philosophy of peace through strength. They're asking for human instructors." Ray smiled. "Send word to command. Tell them Operation Thunderbolt has achieved its final objective. The enemy is becoming an ally." Back in the council chamber, Blackwood and Ixel had moved to a private conference room. The tension of earlier encounters had been replaced by something approaching mutual respect. "Your response to our attack," Ixel began. "It wasn't just about military superiority, was it? You were teaching us something." "Every spacefaring race faces a choice," Blackwood replied. "They can pursue power through fear or strength through wisdom. Humanity learned the hard way which path leads to true stability." The conversation was interrupted by a priority communication. On every screen in the chamber, images appeared of the first joint human-Velkaran project, a memorial being constructed on New Montana, one of the attacked colonies. The design incorporated elements of both cultures, human resilience, and Velkaran artistry. "This is how we build lasting peace," Blackwood explained. "Not through domination, but through understanding. Not through fear, but through respect." Ixel's crystalline form seemed to shimmer with emotion. "You could have demanded our surrender, forced our compliance. Instead, you're offering partnership. Force creates enemies," Blackwood stated. "Understanding creates allies. We didn't reveal our true capabilities to humble you, but to show you why we choose peace. It's not our weapons that make us strong. It's our ability to choose when not to use them." As the day drew to a close, the Velkaran sunset painted the sky in shades of purple and gold. The human ships remained in orbit, but their presence had transformed from a threat into a promise of protection, of partnership, of a future where strength meant more than just military power. "Perhaps," Ixel mused, watching the stars emerge, "this is why the other spacefaring races gave Earth such a wide berth. They saw what we failed to see. The wisdom in choosing peace when war is an option." Blackwood nodded. "The true measure of power isn't in what you can destroy. It's in what you choose to build instead." 5 years after the Velkaran incident, the observation deck of New Montana's Unity Station offered a view that would have seemed impossible half a decade ago. Admiral Blackwood, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the Velkaran Confederation, watched as ships from both civilizations moved smoothly through the busy space lanes, their crews working in perfect harmony. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" asked former High Commander Vectrol, now the Velkaran ambassador to Earth. His crystalline exoskeleton had been modified with subtle human design elements, a physical symbol of the integration between their species. "Sometimes I still can't believe how much has changed." Below them, New Montana had been rebuilt far beyond its original glory. The colony now featured a stunning blend of human and Velkaran architecture, with crystalline spires rising alongside traditional human structures. The memorial at its center had become a symbol of transformation, not just of tragedy, but of triumph over conflict. "The latest numbers from the Joint Defense Initiative are impressive," Blackwood noted, reviewing reports on her neural interface. "The combined fleet exercises exceeded all expectations. Your crews have embraced our doctrine of restrained power completely. And your people have adapted our crystalline technology in ways we never imagined." Vectrol responded. "The new hybrid ships are more powerful than anything either of our species created alone. Yet they're designed primarily for exploration and scientific research." The transformation hadn't been limited to military cooperation. Across human and Velkaran space, a remarkable fusion of cultures had emerged. Velkaran crystal tech merged with human quantum computing had revolutionized both societies. Trade flourished, but more importantly, understanding had grown. Captain Rice, now fleet commander of the Joint Exploration Force, appeared as a hologram in the observation deck. "Ambassador, we've just received the results from the Arcturus deep space mission. The joint human-Velcaran crew has discovered something extraordinary. The display filled with images of a massive artificial structure deep in unexplored space. It appears to be the remains of an ancient civilization, Rise explained. One that faced the same choice we did, war or peace. They chose war. And now they're gone, Vectrol mused, while we chose a different path. The discovery had profound implications. Other spacefaring races had taken notice of the human-Velcaran alliance, not just for its military potential, but for what it represented. Two species that could have destroyed each other had instead forged something greater than either could have achieved alone. The Academy graduation is tomorrow, Blackwood mentioned, changing the subject. The first class of joint human-Velcaran officers. Did you ever imagine, 5 years ago, that we'd be training our forces together? Vectrol's crystalline form shimmered with what humans had learned was amusement. 5 years ago, I thought we were containing a threat. Instead, we found teachers. Your philosophy of peace through strength has transformed our entire approach to galactic relations. The station's AI announced the arrival of a diplomatic delegation from one of the younger spacefaring races. They had come seeking admission to the Joint Defense Initiative, drawn by the promise of security and advancement that the human-Velcaran alliance represented. They all asked the same question, Blackwood noted. How did two species move from the brink of war to this level of cooperation so quickly? And we always give them the same answer, Vectrol responded. True strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to choose a better path. In the years that followed, the human-Velcaran alliance became a model for interstellar cooperation. The memorial on New Montana, once a symbol of tragedy, became a university where species from across the galaxy came to learn about peace through strength, about the power of choosing cooperation over conflict. Admiral Blackwood's final report to Earth's Council, before her retirement, summed up the transformation. The Velcarans thought they were teaching us about our place in the galaxy. Instead, we taught each other about the true nature of power. They learned that peace isn't weakness, and we remembered why we chose it in the first place. Together, we've built something that will outlast any weapon. Understanding. The dragons, as some came to call humanity, remained vigilant but peaceful. Their alliance with the Velcarans proved that the most powerful force in the galaxy wasn't the ability to wage war, but the wisdom to choose peace from a position of strength. Other races gave Earth a respectful distance not out of fear, but out of admiration for a civilization that had mastered itself. And on New Montana, where the story of transformation began, a new generation of humans and Velcarans grew up together, learning not just about their shared past, but about their united future. They learned that the greatest victories aren't won through force of arms, but through force of will. The will to choose a better way. The sleeping dragons remained at peace, not because they had to, but because they chose to. And that choice, more than any display of power, became their most lasting legacy to the galaxy.